Here's a question we'll start off for tonight. Is Harry a better man than Dumbledore? Because Dumbledore says it. He says he's a better man than he was.
Well,
That's a loaded question.
if Dumbledore says it, it must be true.
Nice.
I think for someone to be able to say that to someone else, they're automatically the bigger man.
Right.
So you think Dumbledore's a bigger man?
Yes. He's messed up. He's owned it. He's worked against those things as best he knew how to because he's human and flawed.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big person.
Yeah, for sure. Working
Now I'm
through
going to
those
keep eating.
issues.
I was like, that goes right with what you were saying before.
Perfect.
Oh, man, that is tough. I still am holding out hope we're going to learn more about Dumbledore and his actions and his past. Because
Wait, in the books? There's only one more chapter in the books.
that's enough time, John. Just because at the moment, I do think Harry might be the better man, the makings for a better man.
Okay.
But I mean,
Wait,
your
it's only
circumstances
one
shape
chapter?
you.
I thought we had 2 more chapters.
Yeah, there are, but the last one is like a very, very short.
Second
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah. Who's a better man?
I don't know.
Who do you guys think has been the most moral person in the series?
Well, I think Harry he didn't have a childhood necessarily, and he still chose like the right things to do, even though he had really bad role models.
So true.
So, and he also never really, he just jumped to action and he didn't think through things, but it was always like on a selfless most of the time.
Like his instincts.
His instincts was, I know that he did certain selfish things, yes, but.
What were selfish things?
I
can't even think of any right now.
I know.
Who, Dumbledore?
No, Harry.
Harry.
I mean, I'm sure he did, but like in general.
Well, he also like
kid.
brought people to danger, right? When he's like, I see Sirius Black, and they go to the Ministry of Magic, or he led them to like Death Eaters, his friends and him.
I guess one of the things I've been thinking about
chose that.
is like Dumbledore when he used the Resurrection Stone and it caused his hand to turn black and, like kind of ultimately caused his death. That's the part that I can't quite understand how bad of a decision it was. Did he know that was potentially risking this end game for Harry and his like kind of journey when he did that? How selfish of a decision was it? So he had to pay the price for it, but I guess that's one of those weird things where that is a big moment in us understanding Dumbledore's current character. Not in the past, not Ariana, not stuff when he was a kid, but right now. And I can't quite decide how selfish that was, or if it was just a quick little thing. He wanted to maybe see his sister again, which would be very normal. Mm-hmm. And he thought, I could do that and then just move on.
But then it's also like...
Could he have moved on?
How, like, that's like a loaded question too, because it's like years, right? So you're taking what, how old is he, 18 or something? An 18-year-old versus how old was Dumbledore? In his 80s?
We don't really know, but yeah, I guess that maybe 80s, yeah.
So like, what is Harry's trajectory of like being a good person? And
well, he has such good instincts, and he's willing to die at 18 for his people. So I feel like that's...
Yeah, I'm just playing both sides.
Yeah. But I just don't know, and I would love to see Dumbledore redeemed.
But then, oh my gosh, we're saying so many things.
So many things.
It's so annoying.
All right, go.
Yeah, this is your timeout button.
I'm going to keep tea in my mouth.
It's probably really hot. I was just saying that it's nice that we're seeing like a Dumbledore being redeemed of the hiccups he had and the selfish ways he had that was revealed somewhat recent. So, yeah.
Yeah. My opinion of Dumbledore declined in the last chapter or two a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little bit where I'm like, I'm disappointed. I love his honesty. He's very self-aware. He knows that he messed up. But I think the part that's strange to me is that from what I'm currently seeing, I still think everything that happened in Harry's head was just in Harry's head. So I would love to see something confirming that was something more, something spiritual, something where that was maybe actually Dumbledore talking to him. I don't know if that would even be satisfying, but the way I read it naturally was just that it was all in Harry's head. And again, to me, spoke to Harry's character that he can give Dumbledore so much credit through all of this to give him such a good personality, even in his subconscious. And that means everything we found out in this chapter was Harry's projection of who Dumbledore was, but maybe not the reality. And so, I don't know.
I'm taking it literally.
Yeah, but then in Snape's memories, I think the Dumbledore we saw just felt a little distant, a little manipulative, and I'm still waiting for something else to,
I know, but then I keep going
know.
back though. It's like they had to act certain ways, like because Voldemort could see people's thoughts.
Right.
So like the way he had to act around Dumbledore, Snape had to act around Dumbledore, and
Dumbledore had to act around Snape.
Yeah.
And that's
even
fine.
Harry too.
But I would love to see it validated then that we see another side of Dumbledore, not just Snape's perspective, whether it's through his portrait or a story or something else or a piece of something.
So this is another. Actually, really quick, let's start the podcast because I want to talk about this other point real quick. And I don't want to have the intro be so long. So welcome to the podcast. I'm John.
Jenn.
Danny.
And Kristen.
And this is Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. So the question that I wanted to talk about was you guys, I don't want to like rain on the parade a little bit because I think the same as you guys, but there is another opinion out there that this isn't actually Dumbledore. This is like the last line in this chapter. Is this real or is this just happening in my head? Of course it's just happening all in your head, but why does this make it not real? So there's a discussion where this isn't the real Dumbledore. And Harry is just coming to these realizations himself about things. No new information is really given throughout this whole thing. A little bit maybe, but there's not a ton of new information that's given about it. And it's just Dumbledore repeating things and like letting Harry come to the realization. So is this really Dumbledore?
Did we do a summary?
Oh, yeah. Give me a summary. Jen, sorry. Yeah, what's a summary of this chapter? Thank you.
Harry wakes up and he is naked.
And which is so funny because we were talking about that.
There's our shirt.
I know.
I don't know. And then Dumbledore appears somehow and they're having a conversation, kind of going through what the events in his life were. I don't know. And this is why I don't do summaries.
No, you're good. Dumbledore just gives him like an update on his life.
But then we're wondering if this is really Dumbledore or if this is Harry just thinking it. And then he has a choice at the end. Go back to the light and live this out, or he could go with Dumbledore. Whatever that is.
Yeah, go on. Whatever
But apparently Harry is still alive per Dumbledore's statements or conversation. Anything else I missed?
No, that's perfect. Imagine how funny that would have been if Harry was actually naked on a horse and you guys like made some wild prediction about that.
That would have been so funny.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's a picture of him. That's why I thought of it from like a play.
Yeah, exactly. His naked play.
I didn't see it. I just saw like the posters of it.
Yeah.
Were you guys actually shocked that Dumbledore was back? Like that Harry wakes up and he's like looking around thinking it's the room of requirement, looks to help this little thing that's like, crying and moaning. And
Oh
then all of a
yeah.
sudden-
See, I forgot that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we'll give you more updates throughout the episode.
Don't worry about it. That's what he kept saying.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
And then all of a sudden Dumbledore comes. So were you guys surprised that
No, I
Dumbledore
liked.
was here?
I was hoping to see him again, so I guess
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, I think I was surprised in some ways, but it made so much sense. And in this moment, again, feeling like we're in Harry's head, it's kind of fitting that that's the only person we see in some ways. So it wasn't shocking, but it was a little surprising. I don't know if that even makes sense, but yeah, I definitely liked it. Comforting.
Yeah. I love how he greets him too. Because he says, "You cannot help." He spun around. Albus Dumbledore was walking toward him, sprightly and upright. Hands were both whole and white and undamaged. "You wonderful boy, you brave, brave man. Let us walk." So yeah, do you think that this was actually in Harry's head only, or was this some other like limbo realm?
I want it to be a limbo realm,
Yeah, same.
and I think it can be, but I don't think it is. I need something more, and I was hoping we would get some information in this chapter that was new information that Harry could not have come up with in his head. Even if we don't know it yet, that could be confirmed in the next chapter, which would then be the moment of, oh my goodness, that really was Dumbledore in some kind of limbo, heaven or whatever it would be. But it's weird. For the first time, he wished he were clothed, barely had the wish formed in his head, then robes appeared a short distance away. That sounds like stuff that would be in his head, but it also could be in limbo
Yeah,
land.
for sure, yeah.
So I am left in both ways, but I'm just going with my gut of the this
I
being in
guess
his
I
head.
liked. It's gonna sound bad. That he was naked because
whoa.
no, because I'm thinking of like if it was like a heavenly realm, it's like your purest form of like a body,
Right.
maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's how I thought of.
He doesn't
that.
have his scar, right?
That's yeah.
Like he tries to feel for his scar and it's not there. So when he comes back, is he gonna have his
kinda
scar?
weird.
No, because it's real. It's not in his head. And regardless if it was in his head or not, it's not in his head anymore because he's not a Horcrux.
Well, I was just thinking that's more limbo than head if he doesn't have the scar, because he's never even seen himself without a scar.
Yeah.
But if your head can conjure Dumbledore, I guess you can conjure a face with no scar. But then shouldn't his scar be even bigger when he goes back to reality? Because
No, because it's getting away.
a whole Dark
It's
Lord
being
got
taken
pulled out of his
out.
forehead.
Oh.
I feel like it's got to leave a
gash.
mark. You
It
know,
leaves
it's
an
like
open gash.
it's not a magical mark anymore, and then it could just be a scar. But I guess
Oh, it's gonna be like a Mad Eye Moody.
Someone wants me to ask, do you think Mad Eye Moody is going to come back, Danny?
I want him to. Well, now
He's
I'm
gonna
just
show
like,
up in the battle last minute.
Because back then, that was back when people didn't die. You know,
Yeah.
Sirius was a one-off. But now everybody dies. It's like, oh goodness.
I know.
You know what? Weirdly enough, there's still hope for him. More hope for him than these other people like Colin or Tonks or Lupin or Fred, Dobby. So
Is it possible
Sirius.
that everyone could come back?
Yeah, it is, because time turners, but I don't think so.
They were destroyed.
So
Yeah, in that one line.
and well, you know what?
That was barely even a line.
It would cheapen
Yeah.
the whole story, and I don't think people would love this story as much if she did anything like that. It's satisfying in the short term, but the story wouldn't have as much staying power because it's kind of a cheap literary device to like. You know, but no offense, JK, if that's what you did, I'd still be happy. But no, I don't think she would do that. And that's the only way I can think of. I'm still
that's
holding
so
out a little
memorable.
hope for Lupin and Tonks. Harry never asked them what happened. They could have been petrified. They could have been something else.
Hold on.
So there's like the tiniest bit of hope for them.
Danny, in the forest again, Lupin was there.
But yeah, you're right. That stinks. But Tonks wasn't there. Yeah, you're right. So basically, Jen, to answer your question, I think they're all dead. But Moody
Yeah,
actually
I
could
didn't say
be
they're
alive.
not said. I said
He had
they
to
come back.
go all the way
Full
around
circle.
to get there.
But if they came back, they wouldn't like if Harry is going to use the resurrection stone. They're not truly back. Like they're
Yeah.
not going to actually be back. So
exactly.
it's not worth it. That's why there's a great line in this when Dumbledore talks to Harry and he says, "You wanted to bring these people back to accompany you in your death, to like go meet them, rather than Dumbledore who wants to bring them back to alleviate him from doing extra work." So it's just a different motive, and that's why Harry was
he's
able to bring him
better.
back, and that's why they're
The only other option is if all of the Hallows together really does give Harry that power, but that feels too weird. I just don't know exactly how that would work, and that would be beyond anything we've seen. But I forget what in the story how it was explained when you have all the Hallows together. But all that, like we said in the last podcast, all the Hallows are in this one circle. So there is some kind of possibility there, but there has to be a limit to that. It can't just be magical, like bring everybody back to life. I don't think his parents would come back. I don't think Sirius would come back. I don't think.
What if it's just
I
the
have a hard
last
time
few
picturing
people
that.
that died? Remember how the wand, it like regurgitated the last few people that
last few
Voldemort
people come
killed.
back. Ooh, interesting. So,
Yeah.
Snape's coming back, guys.
Hey,
no, well now you cheer.
Yeah,
kind of.
I always stick
Yeah.
up for him. I did cheer when he died.
Yeah, I still have mixed feelings about him, but I like him.
Okay, do you guys? This is one of the lines that we get to, and I want to actually talk if you actually understand this line. It says, "But Harry raised his hand instinctively toward the lightning scar. It did not seem to be there. But I should have died. I didn't defend myself. I meant to let him kill me. And that," said Dumbledore, "will, I think, have made all the difference." And then later on, they're talking about this, and he says, "He took my blood," said Harry. "Precisely," said Dumbledore. "He took your blood and rebuilt his living body with it. Your blood in his veins, Harry. Lily's protection inside both of you. He tethered you to life while he lives." So do you get why Harry didn't fully die?
Because
Isn't
he
really
has a
dead.
Horcrux in a way
Yeah.
with Voldemort's body.
Yep.
But then that makes it weird too, because now, okay. So it's kind of like he's doing what Voldemort was able to come back. Let's say he did die, but he could come back because he's tethered. Is that how Voldemort was when he was like destroyed into nothing
Yeah,
and then came back slowly? Like, I wonder if that's
yeah, I think
what
so.
was his little realm of limbo between the worlds.
Yeah,
That's actually an interesting question, yeah.
Because it kind of seems similar. So then it's like he's tethered to... But then I'm so confused because then they both die, it seems like.
wait, who?
Like, if Voldemort tried to kill Harry and couldn't kill Harry, Harry can try to kill Voldemort,
Only after Nagini is done.
but they're still attached.
No, they aren't anymore because this attack from Voldemort to Harry killed the scar, right? Killed
So they're not
Harry,
attached.
broke the Horcrux, the tether. In my
But
mind,
because
that's how it went.
of
right?
Harry's blood and Voldemort, he didn't fully die.
And Voldemort
potentially.
maybe doesn't even realize that Voldemort is now the Horcrux for Harry in the same
Yeah.
way that Harry used to be the Horcrux for Voldemort.
So you could still kill Voldemort, and it wouldn't kill Harry now.
Right, but it would kill
It
the
seems
Horcrux that Voldemort is. Like, it would kill Voldemort and the Horcrux, and then Harry
But-
would have no more tethers.
Here's the next
But that's
question, though.
fine.
Voldemort uses Avada Kedavra on Harry, and then the Horcrux is killed. What if now there's still a Horcrux of Harry residing in Voldemort? What if Harry tries to kill Voldemort, and then all of a sudden Voldemort's transferred to this realm, and he doesn't kill the snake yet?
Yeah, exactly. If he doesn't
So,
kill Nagini first,
Does Voldemort not fully die even if Harry kills him, even if he kills the snake and then Harry kills Voldemort, does Harry hit his own Horcrux and destroy his own Horcrux and Voldemort is still there? The sequel.
He almost has to double kill. It's double tap. He's got
seriously.
to.
You were talking about that before.
And it has to be Nagini first, in my mind. And we can hope that Ron, Hermione, and Neville are either working on
Yeah,
this
but what
now.
about that
if this
little
is real time.
creature that he's like, leave it, don't touch it?
I think that represents Voldemort, the Horcrux, the
Right.
scar, right?
That's what I thought too. But
I feel like it would be really bad for Harry if he killed Voldemort first without Nagini, because Voldemort, if he has been in this state before where he has a tether, a Horcrux, he's going to know what to do even quicker. He'll be familiar with it. I've been here before. Time for me to go back. I'm going to go to the light.
Yeah,
I'm going to whatever.
But Nagini can't protect itself.
I mean, seems
Voldemort-
like a pretty cool snake. Magical too. I mean, it's got to be able to
Yeah,
do
but if
something. And there are
Voldemort-
Death Eaters around too. It's not like...
Yeah, but they're not going to think to protect the snake.
Yeah,
Are
it's
they
true.
gonna
Yeah,
care?
But is Nagini still in the protective
Yeah,
like,
but
cage?
let's say he is. When you go to kill Voldemort, don't you think that's going to disappear?
No.
Well, I do.
But that wouldn't surprise me. But I didn't think that it would.
And then, like, how does he get to Nagini? Like, what does that even look like?
I don't know.
Like, it's that
think Hermione will
nasty
come up with
little,
something.
like, thing that's described in this chapter that starts to, like, become stronger.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Wait,
yeah.
if Harry does go back, does he get to go to his own body? Does he get to choose? Because Voldemort
What?
couldn't, because his body didn't exist anymore, right? But then he went into snakes and went out to Eastern Europe. So I think
So,
that's just a funny part of it
he's
where
gonna be
I'm
Nagini.
assuming Harry goes back into his own body, but he also could
He's
go
gonna
into
go
some
into
critter.
Nagini.
I think
And then
Nagini's spoken
destroy
for.
it internally.
Whoa.
And then eat Voldemort. And then...
That's intense.
This sounds like a story from my preschoolers. Literally.
Jen's gonna
Or
rewrite
a
the story.
story about like the princess being eaten by something.
Wow, classic.
Well, I think it's a great story.
Harry could go into Crookshanks, or we could do a hippogriff callback. But I think because Harry's body is still there, he would go back into his own body.
But how do we know it's still there? Because didn't Voldemort... Yeah, I got the name wrong. Didn't
Mostly
Voldemort...
just because we took a peek at the picture of the last.
I don't even remember it, honestly.
Yeah, me either. I mean, that's what
Oh,
I
I
guess
remember
to
it
say.
now. So you're going off the picture now.
Yeah, you
Whoa.
converted me.
Wow.
Wait, what was it? What was the deal with the picture?
Well, just because Jen always
Hagrid.
peeks and I didn't like using it, it's like using outside information
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
next chapter. So I shouldn't really allow it to enter my mind during this chapter.
Yeah,
But
what is the chapter called?
no, it's too late. All right, I guess we could look. No, I
It's
won't.
too
Um,
late. It's not even anything.
Yeah.
But I think that Harry will choose Earth. He will go back into his body and then be able to try again. And like what we were saying, he will still have the Voldemort Horcrux, which is also
Wait,
weird because
also-
Voldemort won't realize that. Harry could just keep unlimited lives. You know what I mean? Just like
Wait, what?
he could just keep dying. He's got the Horcrux.
Voldemort keeps trying
Just
to
like
kill him.
he just
And keeps
respawns
popping
every
back.
time. Like, I'm a pro. What you got?
Oh,
And then he
because
just
he's
keep
That would
doing
actually
it.
make a great parody. Someone needs to parody that on YouTube. Voldemort keeps trying to kill Harry, and he just
Because
can't
it's like
die.
Harry can't lose, especially if Voldemort doesn't realize. So in the process
that
of
is
trying to
so
kill Nagini,
funny.
he could just, kind of go for
Like,
it.
risk it all.
Yeah, he can do some moves that wouldn't be prudent in other battles, knowing that death is not an issue for him.
But what I was thinking too is that, remember these ghosts that were in the school? It was like
Yeah.
they had a decision where they can stay
yeah,
or
definitely.
they can move on. And
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, is Harry going to be a ghost now?
But he is a
Ooh.
Horcrux, so he's tethered. But maybe that's what happens to the
Yeah.
ghosts. Like if they're full of enough like bitterness or hope for revenge, they don't move on. They're like, no, I'll stay on Earth even though I don't have a body or like anything. But then maybe that's when they get trapped. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, this is like good ghost lore. This could potentially be how ghosts are made. It's interesting. I never really thought about that.
Yeah. You're welcome.
You guys are helping me
Moana.
find new things.
Nice.
So there is another strange line that I asked our people on Discord because I didn't quite understand this one and I want to talk about it. And it's just like a weird theory that I kind of came up with. But it said, I believe that your wand imbibed some of the power and qualities of Voldemort's wand that night, which is to say that it contained a little of Voldemort himself. So your wand recognized him when he pursued you, recognized the man who was both kin and mortal enemy, and regurgitated some of his own magic against him. Magic much more powerful than anything Lucius's wand had ever performed. Your wand now contained the power of your enormous courage and Voldemort's own deadly skill. What chance did that poor stick of Lucius Malfoy stand? There's this line where it says, he says Voldemort's wand that night, which is to say it contained a little of Voldemort himself. So temporarily, was Harry's wand a Horcrux for Voldemort? Did Voldemort really split his soul into 8 accidentally with this?
Wouldn't that be 9?
No, because Harry was the 7th. Harry's the 7th.
Yeah, but what about himself? Voldemort himself.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess then there you go. That'd be 9. Voldemort himself. Yeah.
Because his soul should be in there.
Yeah, and he technically is a Horcrux, but a Horcrux for Harry. So I guess you can kind of say that. But Harry's wand is destroyed, so I'm like, maybe
the blood thing.
Maybe it's shocking that Harry's wand was a Horcrux at some point, and accidentally it got destroyed. Luckily, because maybe there was a piece of Voldemort's soul residing in it.
It feels funny because I guess I thought of it as being because Harry had the Horcrux. That's why some of Voldemort was coming through the Harry scar, rather than it being like the wand. But the wand lore is still so complex that I'm not sure I understand. So it is intriguing to think that.
But it feels like he took power. Well, I guess that's the whole point. He took power the first time they interacted the wands. Right? I think, yeah, because his wand
defeated Voldemort.
Yeah, and all the past people that were killed kind of like came out of the wand. So I wondered if he just, like, instead of it being a Horcrux, he just sucked some of the power out of him. Could that be?
Yeah, I kind of like that. I think that's probably more what the reading is, to be completely honest. He just like took some of his power rather than like the actual soul didn't really
like,
make a Horcrux.
Yeah, instead of like part of him, it was like more like his magic than like
his
soul.
essence or something like that, yeah.
And
I like that.
The courage element is he embraced the possibility of death, something Voldemort has never been able to do. So I feel like that's part of it too.
Love and ancient magic.
Well, yeah, Harry's got it all going for him. Yeah. So I think that's a funny thing, that Voldemort has truly been afraid of death.
Yeah.
His whole life. And multiple times Harry has been willing to die. In the same way his mother did, and that's what saved him. So I feel like that courage, again, in the wands, that's a victory in itself, going into something with that courage.
Yeah. Because he knows that like death isn't the end, which is a great concept for this, for Harry. Like, he just willingly marches to death. Even in that moment when he's like, if you reread that, Harry is literally ready to die. He's like, this is it. And he like almost accepts it. And then that's when the wand starts working its magic, which is pretty crazy. It's like, again, a second read is so much fun because you recognize so much stuff that comes up. It's great. But this the bulk of this chapter was a lot of Grindelwald and Harry or Dumbledore information. And do you guys get all that? Do you have any lingering questions about Dumbledore and Grindelwald? Because they brought up like a lot of the points, like what is let me just quiz you. What is Dumbledore's greatest like, I guess, regret or like unknown?
Whether he or Grindelwald was the one who killed Ariana.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then they were friends, but then they saw things differently when it came to the Muggles. And then
Kinda.
they had a fight. I don't know.
Yeah, they kind of saw things differently, but Dumbledore kind of just acquiesced. Like, he was plugging his ears at certain things. Like, it said that Grindelwald wanted the Resurrection Stone to make an inferior army, and it was like Dumbledore just kind of ignored that fact because he wanted it to resurrect his family members, probably for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so he kind of like plugged his ears at a lot of stuff until there was one point where there was just a falling out between Aberforth, Dumbledore, and Grindelwald, and then he doesn't know whose curse killed Ariana, which is pretty tough. But yeah, there's not a...
And that's why he wanted. But why were they hunting the Hallows to begin with, though? Because of they wanted to create their own art. Like, what was it?
Wait, who? Dumbledore?
Well, both of them. They both
That's a good
found
question.
out about the Hallows. So, like, what was the purpose of collecting all of them?
Wait, you say both of them? Oh, because in my mind, Voldemort wasn't looking for the
No,
Hallows, just
no.
the wand.
I know.
You're saying Dumbledore and Harry?
No, Grindel.
Oh, because they wanted to have the power of them, but what was the reason? Yeah.
Yeah, because it seemed like they had this plan.
Mm-hmm. But
And it
what
was like
it?
for the greater good and the muggles, but like what was... And they found out about the Hallows, and then Dumbledore was on a hunt, I thought, with Grindelwald to find these things. For what?
Yeah, like what would that
Is
have
it just
done to
power,
accomplish
or-
their goals?
You ask great questions, Jen, because you're like, what the heck is the purpose of all this? You're the ongoing question. Why does anybody follow Dumbledore? It's a fascinating question that no one has an answer to, because like people just follow him because of power. Why were Dumbledore and why were Dumbledore and Grindelwald after the Horcruxes?
Hallows?
Yeah, the Hallows. Just power. They wanted power for whatever reason they wanted power for.
Young pride.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, young pride. And there's not really like a clear-cut answer to that. It's like, why do you want power in this situation? To get power. I don't know.
For power's
Yeah,
sake.
for power's
wow.
sake. Like
I
Dumbledore.
thought it was more than that.
Yeah,
Then I get it.
know.
Well, like I don't know if they had the next step in their plan.
Yeah.
It's like step 1, get power. After that, use power. You know, like, and then they have like vague ideas of like what they wanted to do in the wizarding world and come out of hiding and whatever. But yeah, it's a great
I
question
guess
because
I
it
am.
feels like
I'm always
you would
like,
be asking
why?
that,
Yeah, that's-
but they never did.
I'm
They're
always
just like,
like,
but
but
power.
why?
Why wouldn't you want it? You know, it's like, and maybe that's the same reason
Can't
people
just
follow
follow
Voldemort and it's
blindly, which is
Like,
why I wouldn't.
power.
Yeah, and someone on stream too is mentioning that this is one of the most common arguments for why this is limbo, because Harry doesn't necessarily know all this information.
Yeah.
Like he maybe can piece it together. So that's one side of the argument. The other side, and I was even reading this today, is how does Dumbledore know that Grindelwald was died because of Voldemort? Like he knows Grindelwald. This is in this memory. He knows that Grindelwald lied to him. Was his last thing that he did. So how does Dumbledore know that if he's dead? If Dumbledore died before that? Maybe he's like all knowing now and he can see all things and look down and smile upon people, you know?
Wait. So Grindelwald died after Dumbledore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be like to say this is in Harry's head?
Yeah. That's the argument
Gotcha.
for why maybe
Yeah,
it's in
yeah,
Harry's
because
head. Because
that
Harry
makes sense.
Harry saw that, but Dumbledore,
But
didn't see
Dumbledore
that.
didn't.
So there's
But
arguments
also-
for and against for everything.
Well, I don't know about this afterlife here. Grindelwald could be up there chilling with Dumbledore
Yeah, that's
sometimes.
true. Yeah, he told
You'll
the whole
never
story.
believe it. You know, they already made up. And so,
yeah, that's a great point. He came on a different train. He's like, Dumbledore, I cannot believe this thing.
and if that theory is correct, I don't know if you can go from limbo and heaven, etc. But it's kind of cute to think Dumbledore might have waited for Harry in limbo.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
If he knew it was going to go down this way, and it seems like he did. But I still kind of think it's in Harry's head. But,
Because
could
it
go either
opens at the
way.
close. I feel like that was the craziest one, that he knew he would do that.
And that's why I still keep waiting for another missing piece of how Dumbledore knew all of this so exactly.
Even
With
there's-
more prophecies or something. Wait, but
Because
I don't think-
Dumbledore is a master puppeteer. There's even the point where he was talking about how he knew that Harry wouldn't go after he even says this line, which is great. He's like, Harry, I know that you're hot-headed, and I know that you would have gone after the Hallows, but I trusted that Hermione would have slowed you down and that you would have come to sense. So he's like, Harry's going full steam at this. Hermione reins him back, and Dumbledore knows that exact balance that's in between them.
Right.
That Harry knows that this is the wrong thing to do, and then it's going to veer course again and go back to Horcruxes. That like blows my mind how fine of a line this is that Dumbledore was playing, and it's like astonishing when you get to that idea.
Where that was though. Why did when was the deciding moment?
At Shell Cottage, remember they
When
just got out back to
Dobby-
Shell Cottage, and Harry was making a decision between Horcruxes and Hallows, and they went and they talked to the Horcruxes first. They talked to the
Ollivander
yeah.
versus.
They talked to Ollivander second, and then because Harry Howard was having
About the
visions of
Elder's
Voldemort
wand.
going to get the Elder Wand, and he was like, "Nope,
Right.
we're too late. We can't get it. We have to go Horcruxes."
Got it.
And that's why it's like crazy that Dumbledore is just playing all this like master. How did he know? And like even to your guys' question, he knew parts of this because he was raising to an extent Harry to die. So he knew certain things had to happen, but how he was able to maneuver and manage that thing is
But now
like,
it sounds a
pretty
little
incredible.
better. It's like he was raising him the way he needed him to die so that everything would work out
Yeah.
so he doesn't actually die.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
100%.
if he again,
Or is
the
it
victory
only
in his eyes,
is it only because of the blood exchange?
and at that moment he's like, "Good, I don't have to sacrifice Harry. Harry can live." He's like, "I was ready, but now I don't have to. All right,
Yeah.
good." Maybe, or maybe he had a whole different plan, and that was the pivot of, well, now we can get a little more aggressive with this plan.
Yeah.
It feels like there are just a few little pieces in there that I'm like waiting for other things to fill in details,
Yeah.
but it also is a less perfect story than I pictured. You know, like I guess I pictured a little bit more of the fairy tale happy
the
ending bow on
answers?
top. And then
That's what I
we're hit
want.
with like more complex characters than I expected, even in Dumbledore and Snape. So then the curveballs of character flaws, it's different. I'm like, oh, all right. That's
Yeah.
very real.
Yeah, for sure. That's why, again, it is an astonishing theory or like series because no character is perfect. Like these characters that you think were perfect are not, and these characters that you think are evil, some of them are pretty evil and they're not really redeemable. But it's like even Snape, who you really despise and think is this person is beyond redemption, finally gets his redemption at the end in some way. In some way, you can people debate. That's the most debated question, is who he is as a person, but he does get some kind of redemption at the end. So it's like the series is great because it's a spectrum of humans. It's not just it's a great line, but the world isn't split into good people and Death Eaters. It's fantastic. I'll say that all the time. Yeah. You say that's not true.
Yep.
You hated that.
Oh, that's so good.
Because everyone we're talking about was a Death Eater at some point.
Yep.
And Slytherins left the building.
Here's another line that I want to talk about this for a little bit. It says, Harry kind of says that he would have been a great minister of magic, and Dumbledore goes, "Would I?" asked Dumbledore heavily. "I'm not so sure. I had proven, as a very young man, that power was my weakness and my temptation. It's a curious thing, Harry. But perhaps those who are best suited to power are those who never sought it. Those who, like you, have leadership thrust upon them, and take up the mantle because they must, and find to their own surprise that they wear it well." Had Dumbledore had power thrust upon him, do you actually think he would have been good? Like going back to Dumbledore, so we're comparing old Dumbledore right now with young Harry. Bring Dumbledore back to Harry's age. Would he have responded in the same way that Harry did? Would he have been good with power?
In his youth?
In his youth. Like, would he have been a good minister of magic, actually?
It's hard to be worse than Fudge. What do you? I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like even if he was bad, he probably would have eventually became better.
Yeah.
Matured. To
Yeah,
what
it's a
he
great
is
point.
now.
But
when
I was
Hopefully.
thinking almost the opposite of like corrupting.
Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes when you are put in power, that can really be a deciding factor of which
true.
way you're going to go.
Like if he was young back in the story where he's saying like, when he was kind of making these original decisions, but then if he became Minister of Magic later in life, it might have been better. And I think it's also like a mind game where he says it's better if you don't want the power and then it's thrust upon you. And I'm thinking, well, it sounds like Dumbledore doesn't want the power and it would have been thrust upon him. Like Dumbledore then filled that exact same thing he said. He doesn't want it. And maybe his reason for not wanting it is because he's afraid of power corrupting him. but that's still a noble reason. And so power could corrupt anybody. And Dumbledore displayed in his choices that he could say no to the power. So I feel like by nature that already qualifies him in some ways because he doesn't actually want it. He said
true.
no to the power.
Yeah, it does display some kind of wisdom that you know your own weaknesses, and you aren't going to take those positions because you're not going to be good in them. So it takes a good amount of wisdom for that. But yeah, I don't know. This is another line that we get. It says, "If you plan your death with Snape, you meant him to end up with the Elder Wand, didn't you?" "I admit that was my intention," said Dumbledore. "But it did not work out as I intended, did it?" "No," said Harry. "That bit didn't work out." What are they talking about?
That Snape died for the Elder Wand instead of Snape getting the Elder Wand.
Okay, yeah.
But that took me a long time to understand.
It's an interesting decipher of that line. Well, like, why didn't it work out? What are they actually talking about that it didn't work out?
But then what would Snape have used the wand for?
Yeah.
And
To
well, yeah,
kill
that's what I'm saying.
Voldemort?
Like, it still, it doesn't feel quite right because it doesn't feel like a good plan.
Like, you have the wand, and then what?
But he never even said that. According to the memories we saw of Snape, and maybe Harry's not supposed to know, but like, what was the plan? When was he going to get the Elder Wand? Or was the plan to have Voldemort always keep it and then him just not know that it was not powerful? But again, if
You mean
Dumbledore knew how
Snape?
Harry was going to end up,
You meant,
yeah, Voldemort ended up with the wand, but when was Snape going to get it?
no. He was. Well, my understanding was that that Voldemort would have never. I don't know. Would he have found out about the Elder Wand and that Snape was supposed to have it be like in his possession, but it would actually be in the grave with Dumbledore? Or is he saying that Dumbledore was expecting Snape to get it? Like, did he even know about the Elder Wand? That's what I guess I'm confused
Did Voldemort?
No, Snape.
Snape.
Oh, Snape. Yeah, that's
Eventually,
a great question.
Because it's like, did he mean like he would be the owner of it, but he would never possess it? Like Dumbledore saying that about Snape.
So yeah, there's even something that that Dumbledore talks about, that Harry is the worthy possessor of the Hallows, but does Harry possess all the Hallows? He had the stone, he had the cloak, doesn't
not
have the
the
wand.
wand.
So is he the possessor of the wand?
But
Maybe not
if he's
yet.
part Voldemort, he is the possessor of the wand.
Oh, interesting.
But I'm
Not
thinking he
anymore,
could. Can he beat
At the
Voldemort straight up,
moment,
though?
he was. When he went to kill him, he actually was part Voldemort, though. So that's what I was saying. Like, can it kill him? Or would it backfire? Or would Harry actually become the owner? Like,
And Harry has a Horcrux in Voldemort.
maybe that's why it wouldn't
So
work.
then, again,
Well,
there can be quite a connection of
many
Elder Wand
protections like he's always had. The wand, the Horcrux, his mother's love, ancient magic. Like,
Yeah, you just say
the
all the
list
buzzwords.
goes
did
on.
not work as I intended. Did it? Did it? Did it? Why do you say it? Why do you end it with a question?
Yeah, what do they know? What do they know that we don't know? Because it could be, like Jen's is definitely the most plain reading. Like, what is there any other?
Fitting.
Is there any other meaning to this line?
Very literal.
Well, I'm hoping it's one of the things we could potentially learn. Again, I'm thinking of more I'd love revealed about Dumbledore to make him just bump back up to a little bit more noble, a little less manipulative. And this would be another piece of that puzzle where that part of the plan doesn't really make sense to me. Poor Severus. It was his intention for Snape to end up with the wand, but I just can't see when that would have happened or how. And if he saw all of this coming, he didn't see Voldemort trying to betray Snape by killing him to get
Yeah, right.
like
Yeah.
that feels like an interesting thing to overlook
Yeah.
with how many other details Dumbledore was able to plan out and how important that was seemingly.
But there is a point. Maybe Dumbledore knew it was going to happen. And it was going to be kind of like a wild goose chase. So like he was going to wait until this last moment. Maybe he thought, oh, it was going to be like just the last moment when he's going to kill him, and maybe Harry will kill all the Horcruxes before that happens, and then it won't really have any power or something like that. So it could still be playing along with Dumbledore's plan, but maybe I don't know. It doesn't necessarily seem like anything went outside of Dumbledore's plan. Like what could have gone outside of Dumbledore's plan for this?
Right.
So
yeah, this is the only part that feels like it was not perfectly part of the plan.
yeah, for sure.
But it makes me wonder what the plan would have been if Snape got the Elder Wand. Was he going to duel Harry, and Harry was going to have to kill him to take the wand so that Harry could then fight Voldemort? But when was that going to happen? Was Snape going to go tell Harry all of the stuff once Nagini was
like, quick,
captive and said,
disarm
you
me,
have to
disarm
kill me
me,
now?
yeah.
Or like, I won't resist. You have to take this wand. Or he
Imagine
can even
if
give it
that's
to him
that-
willingly.
Yeah, well, that's true. Imagine if that would happen though. If Snape comes up to him and he's like, "Harry, I need you to kill me." Harry's probably like, "Okay, great, finally."
And then he gets to mirror Dumbledore
Yeah.
and say, please, Harry, after he tells him the whole story. And well, that also would be interesting because we were saying how even if Snape went to tell Harry the whole thing, it would be hard for Harry to trust him. Not sure if he even would.
Yeah.
But then if he says literally, kill me, Harry, I feel like that's one way to gain trust. You're saying, I trust you with my life and I need you to do the opposite of what you would expect me to do. So I'm curious if we'll hear more about that part of the little plan.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's just one of the other little mysteries they hinted at. And the Grindelwald thing still feels a little weird. Just like his dynamic, his motivation, him being in jail this whole time.
Yeah. I'm not gonna spoil really anything, but the new series touches on it a tiny bit. So they give us a few little extra tidbits on it, but not a ton. So there's like some extra lore that's out there that fits on the Dumbledore and Grindelwald stuff.
And the new series is canon?
Yes, for the
She wrote it.
she helped adapt some of the screenplay. There's some things anything that's new is like, in my opinion, anything that's new, you pick and choose what you think is canon and not. There's a little bit of debate on this, but like people like Cursed Child, there's some parts of that I think are canon. There's some parts that I don't think are. Same thing with the new series. There are certain things that I think are 100% canon. There's one moment that enrages every fan. It's in the last movie, the third of the movies.
Wait, there are 3 more after this one?
Yeah. So there's 3 Fantastic Beasts movies.
Whoa.
They were going to make 5, but they ended up making 3 because they weren't doing too well, apparently. But there's one moment in the third one that like enrages a lot of people because it just shouldn't have happened with everything in these books. So like that's not canon for me. But like most of the other stuff, like pretty much I would probably say 99% of that for plotting is canon for me. Except for 1 or 2 things that I just want to pick out and be like, no, that really shouldn't have happened.
So we can treat it like a Beetle Bard story.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's some truth in there, but maybe some creative license too.
Exactly. 100%. That's my take on it.
I don't know how you remember all this stuff. That's because you're a guy.
I think because he takes diligent notes.
So true.
Could compartmentalize. It's like
True. Dumbledore does say, "My dear boy, I have no idea. This is, as they say, your party." I feel like that's another point towards it being in Harry's mind. Just one of the things that I was
for
like,
sure. That's a good line too.
Or maybe in Limbo.
Why couldn't it be a little bit of both?
Yeah, it can be, and kind of like Dumbledore's final thing.
But it could be like a party also
Why should
of
that
like
mean it's not real?
more of like this is your party of like
And he'll cry if he
Awaken.
wants to. Sorry.
oh I just
Sorry, because I
processed it.
totally interrupted you. Keep going.
Yes, party. But his enlightenment party, so it could be like that, not necessarily like his
Yeah, it's true.
in
It
his
could
brain.
be like, yeah. I kind of like that reading. It's like when everything makes sense for him, that's his party.
Yeah. You didn't. I know you're reading, so you probably didn't catch that.
I a little bit caught it, and I agree with you in a vague sense. I was just getting
In a
lost in
teammate
lore in my
sense.
head.
Sure.
Only because Dumbledore talks about all the Hallows and how maybe a man in a million could unite them. But then he says he's not worthy, Dumbledore isn't, because of he was taking it for the wrong reasons. And as we were saying, Harry could be a better man. Harry might be taking them for the right reasons. If he does get all of them and becomes whatever they said, master of death or the power, the whatever. Again, wanting to bring people back to life sounds great, but then it also sounds a little off. I don't really like it. And then Dumbledore comes back and says, I would have used it in an attempt to, nice cover, respect, to drag back those who are at peace. And I think that's a weird way of kind of saying those who have died. But I also wonder, are all people who die at peace? Because an interesting curveball to this would be if Harry has that power and it's not to bring people back from the dead, but to resolve something with ghosts by giving them peace so that they move on, or even more curveball, brings them back to life so they can try Earth one more time. Anyways, just a chance for resolving some of those ghosts. Because I can't think how the Hallows all coming together would be what he would do with that power.
What Harry would do?
Harry
with
would
that
do with
power?
it.
I feel like Harry's been tested on power before, and he has succeeded overwhelmingly,
Yep.
especially with the mirror. Like he wants these things for very noble reasons. Harry is very much a hothead, very much like will go to battle for you. He has a saving people complex, which are great things about him and flaws about him. But one thing that he has that's overwhelming is that he just doesn't desire power, and he is very, very noble. Like these things that are thrust upon him, if he had all the Hallows, it would be like very insignificant to him, I think.
Yep.
But he kind of saw what power does to someone,
Yeah.
Voldemort, right? And how
Exactly.
it destroys.
Yep. He's like gotten that. Yeah, it's like almost in Harry's blood a little bit. Like he
Oh,
knows
like
that.
literally.
Yeah. Yeah. Did him. A few more lines and then we'll listen. Just some good lines. And what the heck are they talking about? Where he says, "I've got to go back, haven't I? That's up to you. I've got a choice." Oh yes. Dumbledore smiled at him. "We are in King's Cross, you say? I think that if you decided not to go back, you'd be able to, let's say, board a train. And where would it take me?" "On," said Dumbledore simply. Like, what the heck is he talking about there? What is on? Is on to the next world? I guess.
I
but-
would like to think heaven. On to
There you
heaven.
go, yeah. And then this is another good one where he says, "Do not pity the dead, Harry. Pity the living. And above all, those who live without love." And he says, "By returning, you may ensure that fewer souls are maimed, fewer families are torn apart. If that seems to you a worthy goal, then we say goodbye for the present." "Tell me one last thing," said Harry. "Is this real? Or has this been happening inside my head?" Dumbledore beamed at him, and his voice sounded loud and strong in Harry's ears, even though the bright mist was descending again, obscuring his figure. Of course it is happening inside your head, Harry. But why on earth should that mean that it is not real?"
Exactly, Danny.
I mean, that is like such a Dumbledore line.
know.
If this is in Harry's head, then he knows Dumbledore so well.
And he does, yeah, he really
Wonder
does.
how
know
long
Dumbledore.
JK had to think about that one.
I know, right? Yeah.
Just like a perfect line.
I
man.
know, it's such a good line to wrap it up. So, any last tidbits in this chapter? Any final predictions on what's going to happen?
Don't.
I think the mist descending is Harry going back to Earth, reality, the world, etc. And then I think it's battle time. But
What
I
do you
just
mean
can't figure out
battle
how it's going to
time?
go. Well, I think maybe Ron, Hermione, Neville are taking on Nagini.
Oh, nice.
I feel like that would be great if that wasn't another step in Harry's
Why Ron, Hermione,
thing.
and Neville? Because he told Neville about it last
Because he
Yeah.
told Neville, yeah. So Neville has to go to them and kind of remind them. Because I think they'd be a little lost with Harry gone.
Yeah.
They would be confused and feel like even maybe neglected. So if Neville reaches them and tells them the plan, I feel like that would help. And I don't know how many charms are still standing, but they might even be able to apparate now in Hogwarts. So then a little bit of speed and they're on a mission. I feel like that would be good because Harry can then be completely focused on the Voldemort fight as long as the timing works out with Nagini. I just can't figure out again if the Hallows play into it. And if they do, how they do. And if Harry has to do a double tap or if it's a single attack. And if he has to die again or this is a one-time death experience. Or, well, if that's the thing where there could be more risk. If Harry does attack Voldemort and... That doesn't make sense, though. He can't take his own Horcrux out of Voldemort because it's his blood. So I was going to say if he can somehow remove the Horcrux, then there'd be actual risk in that final thing because Harry knows if he loses, he's
The only thing is, it's not
done.
like he did it to himself, so it's different, right? Like his soul is not actually torn apart,
You know,
right?
I feel like that's something people might debate too. Is that you don't think it's torn apart? Because there was no heartbreak, there was no murder, there was
didn't-
no like.
Has Harry killed people? He hasn't never killed yet.
He's. I was gonna say tried, but even that, I
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he has like a.
Yeah, it was unwilling. Like it was his blood, right? So
That's why I'm
not the
thinking
same.
you could kill it with nothing bad happening to you.
Was there?
Like his soul would still be complete, but then I guess not because he killed someone in getting rid of Voldemort.
Right.
I just think the Elder One. I feel like Voldemort's wand's not going to work. I feel like Harry's going to come back,
Harry.
and Harry's going to have both wands.
But how did
Dual
he
wield them.
like part of the same like kind of confusing wand thing where Harry is more worthy and he's beaten Voldemort enough times that like he's the rightful owner even though we think Voldemort is?
Well, also because
how would he be the rightful owner?
Yeah,
besides
that's kind of
just
what
the
I'm-
blood?
because well, let me process. I've previously said that the Elder Wand is going to try to kill Harry, but Harry is part Voldemort, so it can't really kill his owner. But then with that, maybe he kills the Horcrux part of Harry, which also sends Harry into this realm. That sounds crazy. And then he comes back, but because he defeated death, now the Elder Wand can't work against him.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Crazy interesting or like a good interesting?
No, honestly, I
That
don't
was
know.
actually
I honestly
great,
don't.
Jen. Holy smokes.
And so it can't work. And then Harry defeated death and he gets the Elder Wand. And then he's got both.
He's
And
got
Voldemort
both.
has none.
Yeah.
Or no, that's all I got.
Harry, like, unfortunately, they made a joke at Lucius's wand, but it kind of sucks because Harry is only using Malfoy's wand right now, which is a bit of a bummer.
Bit
You're
of a
like-
bummer. I keep thinking back to his Phoenix Feather wand, the little nunchuck thing. I'm like, it's not fully broken. Like, does that do anything? No, it doesn't, right? But it had Priori Incantatum. And then Draco's wand. Again, I'm like, what's the deal with the... Draco did... No, he didn't defeat. He did the Expelliarmus on Dumbledore. And then Harry has saved his life, like, twice now since then. Does that do something? Is there a loyalty there? Is it like... But then Dumbledore said his plan was for Snape to get it. Then wouldn't he have accounted for Snape having to be... But he killed him? I don't know. I just keep trying to find a way that
Also-
Harry can have the wand, but none of them are
It's so
satisfying.
confusing.
Yeah.
Stuff. Jen, you have great theories for that. So hold on to your
We have one
seatbelts.
more though.
Oh, you got another? What you
like
got?
how long was this chapter?
Like
was
in real
this
time?
minutes or was this hours in real time? Because
yeah.
I'm now thinking when he comes back, is Voldemort still going to be standing there, or is Voldemort thinking he defeated Harry and then it could be a sneak
And this
attack?
is a whole different situation.
And he comes too, and then all his friends come, and like Harry, because everyone you know how the adrenaline rush or whatever, if you saw someone that you cared for died, it's like you want revenge even more. So like, does that mean people want it even more now to defeat the Death Eaters and Voldemort? And are they finding out that Harry is dead, going crazy, and then Harry comes back to life? I don't know. That's how my brain works.
No, that is a great question,
so
right?
good.
And
that's it.
I feel like this was maybe not real time, but a little time. It wasn't instant. So
like I think he's gonna come back and Voldemort's not gonna be there.
Like they're not
standing
going to be
over
up
him.
there anymore. They're going to be somewhere else. Well, I guess I'm thinking, what happens to the rest of the crew if Harry dies?
What would happen? And
I
what
don't
would
know.
what would they really just leave Harry's body there? Is that in Voldemort's character, or would he like parade it?
Yeah, he would do something to. Wait, would he parade it? Have we seen that before? Has he done
I
something?
feel like he would
In
like
Fade?
like the Hunger
Yeah.
Games.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
When they
right?
like throw up like who died. Like, look, I got
In
Harry.
Hogwarts, they see this.
Oh, you know what? He would do the dark mark. And
yeah,
he would try and
that's-
tell everybody that Harry was dead with the dark mark.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
I think a lot of people would stop fighting.
Be defeated.
Yes. But people like Ron, Hermione, Neville, they would not stop. Because they'd be so angry, it might fuel them. I don't know who
Yeah.
else would keep fighting, but I think those three would.
At least
Out
Hagrid
of
kind of
pure
saw
anger.
everything. So hopefully he survives. He can relay how things went down.
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
they just... Well, why is he even alive? I'm surprised
He's
they kept him tied up, though.
so they don't die.
But that means they've
The
got some
curses
like
can't get through,
reason.
yeah.
They're trying to use him for something. Maybe...
He's a hybrid, so maybe.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know what the plan is. A future giant breeding program.
Where did you get that?
You said he's a hybrid. I'm like, what does that matter?
I'm
There's
just
other
saying,
giants
like,
still
it's
in
harder
there.
to kill him. I don't know. I'm not
Yeah,
saying-
but I'm glad they didn't. But I'm like, it actually seems out of character again for Death
That's the
Eaters and
sequel. This
Voldemort.
is the giant breeding program that they have going on. They have to defeat that. All right, give me your favorite moment, hot tamale, and house cup winner. I mean, it's. maybe not
it's me, myself, and I,
difficult.
pretty much.
I'll vote Jen. I mean, Harry wins it for me, obviously.
I
House
like
cup?
the info dump again
Yeah, yeah.
a little bit more.
Yep.
Or like confirming things we already thought.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it really did just confirm most of the things that like gave you a little bit of a
But with so much more clarity
affirmation.
now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we went through the whole book, so I hope so.
Yeah, but even though it's in Harry's head, it still feels like a funny, like, I think it's clarity. It's clarity enough for us and enough for Harry.
Not for you.
But it also could be untrue, you know? Just in the sense that this is
And then
canon
Moody
in
comes
Harry's
alive.
head.
Yeah, Moody. finds
Moody's
out.
actually carrying Harry back.
But, oh, yeah, nice.
And his eye is just missing.
I'm trying to think of favorite moment.
So, hot tamale. Favorite
Was there even a
moment.
hot tamale? Dumbledore? Harry's
Dumbledore's
mind.
the hot. No, the mist coming off.
Yeah.
The mist.
What did you? When you
Or the
said
little
mist? Where is that?
Yeah, at the very end.
Yeah.
That's the second to last like line. His voice sounded
Ew,
loud
the little
and strong
creepy
in
thing, and
Harry's
it's
ear,
like, let him be.
even though the bright mist was descending again, obscuring his figure.
his figure.
Ooh.
Naked figure in the robe.
I feel like my favorite moment was I like all
On
the
a
reveals,
horse.
but I just like the moment of realizing Harry is not dead. You know,
Yeah.
because the last chapter ends and we're like, he can't be. But we still had to get confirmation, you
Yeah.
know? So then it's like, all right, there's something more happening. So that there's hope again. I feel like that was good.
Sure.
Yeah, she does that. It's just like the up and down emotions.
coaster.
It's great.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think my favorite is just Dumbledore like doting on Harry and really saying how remarkable he is, which is funny if this is happening all in Harry's head, then he's just his own best hype man. He's like, Harry, you're great. You're so
Yeah,
brave.
exactly.
You're the best.
Oh
You are
my
so
God.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is.
He's like,
kinda
I know
crazy.
Dumbledore would
Yeah.
think I'm awesome.
Yeah.
Voldemort's
Yeah,
got the
I just
Elder
like
Wand.
his humility.
True.
Dumbledore's
Yeah,
humility.
seriously, yeah. That is like a shocking one. Yeah, or not a shocking, but it's like a comforting. Dumbledore really showing true humility there. I like it. All right, well, you ready to listen to the last two chapters?
Ready.
Yikes.
Well, thanks for joining us on this journey of Harry Potter and the first-time readers.
Until
Almost there.
next time.
Until next time.
Also, how sad is this that I never noticed that she's in the first cover, the first
Hedwig?
page. Yeah, I couldn't think of her name. She's like right there. I don't like this. I don't want it to end. Like, I kind of like want to never know how it ends.
We can just take a breather.